Shalom, everybody. We're continuing with where we left off in Reb Noson's discourse in Likutey Halakhot, section Orach Chaim, the laws of Nefilat Apayim, discourse number 4. We're in the middle of paragraph number 15. Again, based on Likutey Moran, lesson number 24. Just to summarize where we left off, in the last section, Reb Noson tied in the beauty of Naaseh before Nishma, that a Jewish people, as Jews, a Jewish characteristic is that we do first out of pure emunah before understanding the depth of what we're doing, and then afterwards Nishma, and afterwards we then learn to understand. And that's how it works. Because you accept to serve Hashem with pure faith, you're told what to do. We don't ask questions. Why this, why that, what's the meaning? You do as you're commanded by the sages, by the Torah, okay? By education. And then you accept with emunah. This emunah itself allows you afterwards to perceive. And dependent on how much you invest emunah in what you're doing faithfully, that's how much you will gain the depth afterwards. That's the secret. You would think the more you learn about it, the more you educate yourself, that's how much more you gain out of it. And it's just opposite. The more you serve Hashem out of pure emunah, that extends your perceptions. That's unbelievable. That's a Jewish trait. And Reb Noson connects that to being able to do mitzvot b'simcha. He threw in this idea, and he threw it into lesson 24 as a fundamental stepping stone. That doing mitzvot with joy is synonymous with serving Hashem out of pure emunah. Because when you serve Hashem out of emunah, you can then do the mitzvot with joy. And then Reb Noson re-summarized the whole lesson, showing how this eventually leads to the high level of perception of the infinite light. And we said, if you remember, it connects to creating 9 chambers, that within these 9 chambers, a person perceives the infinite light, but in a format called mate vela mate, which means reaching and not reaching, in and out, because you can't be fixed in. It has to be a quick experience, a quick zap of this infinite light shining, and then it's taken away. That's the only way to perceive it. And then Reb Noson connects it to what Rabbi Nachman also mentioned in the lesson, this concept from a very ancient book called Bechinat Olam. This phrase, Tachlit hayediyah asher lo neda. The goal of knowledge is not knowing. The goal of all knowledge is not knowing. So Reb Noson and Rabbi Nachman, they take that in the concept of mate vela mate, that you're in and out, you're reaching and not reaching. You know, but at the same time you don't know. Okay? So 2 opposites in one unit, and that creates the actual unit. It doesn't make sense. You know and you don't know, and it's the same thing. Because that Reb Noson now wants to go into this a little, to show you how deep this is, and how not everybody merits to this on their own. He's going to say eventually, you're going to need the help of tzaddikim, but the main people who merit this level are the tzaddikim themselves. Look what Reb Noson says. He says like this, we're in the middle of paragraph 15. V'zeh ha-tachlit, and this goal, which is tachlit hayediyah asher lo neda, the goal of knowledge is to not know. It's 2 opposites. The goal of knowing is that you don't know. But it's at the same time, it's knowing and not knowing. So look how Reb Noson explains it. This tachlit, this goal of knowing and not knowing, ein mi shezoche ki im tzaddikim hagdolim b'ma'ala me'od. The only ones who really merit this are the outstanding tzaddikim of an outstanding level and caliber. Very, very much. Ki afal pi, watch this, it's a logical thing. Ki afal pi shakol omrim shetachlit hayediyah asher lo neda, because even though everybody says, the goal of knowing is to realize how much you don't know. We said that already, that the goal of Torah study, the more you learn out of emunah, the more you realize how much is out there and how much you don't know. So that's understandable. I understand that the goal of the more and more I learn of Torah, and Hashem's endless Torah, infinite light in the Torah, that's hidden in the Torah. So the more I learn and tap into and touch and connect to the Torah, the more I realize how much more is out there that I don't know. So on the simple level, tachlit hayediyah asher lo neda. Okay, the goal of knowing is to realize how much you don't know and that you don't know. So Reb Noson says, even though everybody says that, when he says everybody, meaning every learned person in the Torah, any righteous individual who learns Torah, any regular Jew who learns Torah, will admit there's so much out there that I don't know. The more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know. So Reb Noson is saying, even though everybody says that statement, that expression, which is expected of a Jew, a normal Jew, that he recognizes his shortcomings, his failures, and that he's lacking in knowing the whole Torah. It's like taking a university course, like we said many times, that now I got a doctorate in medicine, in physics, and a physician, in psychiatry, so he knows his stuff, right? Judaism is not like that. The more you learn, the more you realize how much that you don't know, okay? So even though everybody in Judaism makes that statement, okay? אבל אין מי שידע פירוש דבר זה בשלמות כי אם מי שאוחז בזה. However, there's no one who knows the true explanation of this statement completely. Only someone who's holding there. In other words, every Jew, with his humility, with his bashfulness, and with his recognition that the Torah is vast and who am I, little me. So he's approaching something and he's saying, well, how much I know, but how much I don't know. Okay, that's coming from your little level. Reb Noson says the true value of making that statement can only be made by someone who's really up there, who's mastered the Torah, who's gone through everything. Not like us, that we touch a little bit of Gemara, a little of Yerushalmi, a little Midrash, a little Zohar, a little Tanakh, a little Halacha, a little bit, and there's so many Sfarim out there. So you admit, compared to what's out there, you've only touched a little. Even someone who does Daf Yomi, he admits, I have not finished the whole Talmud with all Tosfot, all Rosh, all Rif, all Ran, all Marsha. He admits there's much more out there. Because compared to what he's learned, there's much more out there. But that can't be the real statement. The real statement, Rosen says, is by those big guys, those big tzaddikim, who have finished the entire Torah that's available. They've gone through all the books. They've gone through all the Shas with Tosfot, Rosh, Rif, Ran, Yerushalmi, Midrashim, Zohar, the Shulchan Aruch, all the commentaries on the Shulchan Aruch. They've gone through everything. Okay? And then they're perceiving. When they make that statement, that's what Reb Noson is saying. The only ones who really know the explanation, to truly explain Tachlit HaYediyah Asher Lo Neda, the goal of knowing, is to not know at all, is only reflected by those people who are really holding at that level, that they know a lot, they really know a lot. It's not a joke. They finished everything, and yet they say, we don't know. That's the true explanation. In other words, their perush, their way that they explain it, from their perspective, that's the only reality, the true reality of this statement, of those who know. The goal of knowing is to not know at all. Okay? כי אם מי שאוחז בזה, דהיינו, in other words, שזוכה לזה על ידי מעשיו הטובים. Only someone who merits to this true level through his good deeds. Because like we said earlier, the only way to reach true perception, Reb Noson said this a few times earlier, the only way to reach true perception in life is through hard work. Hard work meaning that you invested in doing practical mitzvot because of your emunah. Through emunah, you're doing. It's like someone who's like learning a philosophical class on Judaism, on Torah, and he's just learning the books and everything, but he's not doing. You have people who learn that it's really sad. The Midrash this week says that someone who learns Torah as a theory and not for practice, the Midrash says this, Midrash Tanchuma, Parshat Ekev, it says it's better that such a person would not have been born. It's better that a person would have died in his mother's womb to learn Torah and not to learn it for application, but just to learn it as theory. Better not to learn at all. Can you believe that? The Midrash says that. Midrash Tanchuma. If you're just going to learn for just getting the ideas and the perspective and the intellectual value, you're missing the point. Don't learn Torah. Go learn physics. Go learn AI technology. Learn something else. But don't learn Torah. The Torah is meant to learn in order to apply. If you say now, I admit I can't do that much, but I want to do, okay, that's something else. Person who expresses his desire that he wants to be a good Jew. He wants to do good, even though he's very far from applying what he's learning, but he wants it, and he expresses that he wants it, and he regrets that he doesn't. Such a person is okay to learn Torah because he shows that he does really want to. But the other people, they'll decide afterwards, I'm just learning it as a theoretical, a learning, an intellectual pursuit. You missed the point. Don't learn Torah. Go learn something else. That's not what the Torah is for. Torah is for someone who's looking to apply it. Okay, so that's Reb Noson saying. These tzaddikim, their secret wasn't just that they finished all the Torah; it's that they merited to finish the whole Torah because of their good deeds. That they put deeds before ideas. Okay, matter over mind, not mind over matter. Matter, doing mitzvot with their hands, putting on tefillin, keeping Shabbat, doing more mitzvot, praying, okay, learning Torah as a mitzvah, tzedakah, chesed, everything, all the mitzvot that we have, that's priority. That's priority. It's the doing, not just the thinking about it and learning about it and going to the actual intellectual representation of what I'm doing, but the actual practical application. That's how these tzaddikim made it. They made it. Moshe Rabbeinu put on tefillin. Moshe Rabbeinu put on tzitzit. He wasn't now, he's doing it in a mental way. Okay? When it says about Yaakov Avinu that when he was peeling the maklot, when he was breeding the sheep of Lavan in order to make them the colors that matched what he wanted in his deal. So it says right in the psukim that he peeled, making like tefillin wraps. It looked like a tefillin wrapping on the sticks. And the Zohar says that he was actually putting on tefillin like that. But don't forget, that's before the actual receiving of the Torah. So there was room for the tzaddikim to do Torah practice in different formats that they felt they could do. But once Har Sinai took place, and we went into covenant to receive the Torah through Moshe Rabbeinu at Har Sinai from Hashem, that's it. It's now Shabbat, the actual Shabbat. They're not turning on the lights, not turning on the crock pot, not turning on the cell phone. That's Shabbat. That's from Har Sinai. Finished. Finito. That's the only way to do the Torah. Tefillin, the actual tefillin, okay? All the mitzvot now. So this is the gateway. The gateway is doing the Torah with emunah. That's how they merited to reach such a high level of knowing the entire Torah, and yet saying we don't know, okay? That they merit, that he merits this high level of the goal of knowing is to not know at all, and they really know, and they merited that level because of their good deeds. Those are the real people who know the real meaning of it, as opposed to everyone who anyone can say, the goal of knowing is to not to know. It sounds very amazing. It sounds very poetic and very symbolic and very representative, and it's very presentable when giving over a discourse and speaking and a lecture. It's something which sounds acceptable. But Reb Noson is saying, be careful. Everyone can say it, but the only people who truly know about it are those holy, outstanding tzaddikim, who because of their good deeds have actually reached that level of knowing everything and yet not knowing. They're holding there. As opposed to us, they've really gone through the whole Torah, and Hashem opened the doors to them because of their investment in doing good, leading them to doing whatever was needed to come close, and then they merited that Hashem opens the doors for them. Okay. And Rav Noson writes, like I understood directly from Rabbi Nachman's holy words, his holy mouth of blessed memory. Like is brought down in Rabbi Nachman's conversations. Rabbi Nachman in several places went through this idea of Tachlit HaYedi'ah, Asher Lo Neda. The goal of knowing is to not know at all. That there's endless levels to this. In other words, 10 years ago, you could have made this statement 10 years ago that the goal of knowing is to not know. 10 years pass, you learned what you learned in life, you advanced how you advanced, you did more mitzvot and everything. Now, when you say Tachlit HaYedi'ah Asher Lo Neda, the goal of knowing is to not know, the way you say it today, 10 years later, is not how you said it 10 years ago. Obviously, look, you've advanced, you're more mature, you're older, you're more wise. Life has, the trials and tribulations of life have made you more deeper, more clear perspective, more truthful, more honest, more tuned into reality of life. So the way you say it today, 10 years later, for sure, the endless levels. And so too by the big tzaddikim, who they are really saying it. Who knows at what level they said it last year? He said about himself in 1805, he made the statement. And then 5 years later, on the way to Uman, he's referring to Reb Noson. He tells us where to look in the book Rabbi Nachman's Wisdom, paragraph number 3. Rabbi Nachman goes to this idea of knowing, the goal of knowing is to not know at all, and how there's endless levels to it. And also in the book Chaim, which in English has been translated as Tzaddik, paragraphs 282, 283, where it talks about Rabbi Nachman's final journey to Uman before he passed away. And he made the same statement: we know nothing. We know nothing about Hashem's great men. And Reb Noson said, but you said that 5 years ago. He said, but who knows how I was holding when I said it then, and how I'm saying it now? And even between leaving Breslov till now, who knows how much I've changed and advanced in my perspective since then, okay? Va'az keshezocheh lazeh, and then, when a person merits this, which is a high level, obviously, that the goal of knowing is not know it all, okay? And he's talking about the level of the tzaddikim, their caliber. Reb Noson is speaking on their behalf, meaning Reb Noson possibly also had the depth. Not possibly, we believe Reb Noson, being such a faithful disciple to Rabbi Nachman, he, through the merit of Rabbi Nachman, reached this level. Because look how he explains it. How is it that the goal of knowing is to not know it all? He says the real perspective of it is the following. As when you reach the true level of understanding this statement, what takes place? What is actually the presentation then? As hayedi'ah ve'ha'eder hayedi'ah hakol echad. At that point, when you're reaching this level of the true tzaddikim, of this high caliber of making the statement and being there, holding by it, that the goal of knowledge is not to know it all, he's saying it simultaneously. The yedi'ah, the knowing, and the ha'eder yedi'ah, and the not knowing, the lack of knowing, hakol echad. All is one. How in the world? When we, on our perspective, what I've learned and what I have yet to learn. So it's two separate areas, okay? Here and here. Here he's saying no. In the same unit itself, there's knowing the unit and not knowing the unit. What in the world? Or you know it, or you don't know it. He says that's the trick. That's the thing. That's where we're not holding. This is the level of the tzaddikim. That they've reached such a high level that knowing and not knowing are one. They're together. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay? That the yedi'ah and heder yedi'ah, hakol echad. Ki al yedei shnehem daika nigmar hayedi'ah v'hasaga. Unbelievable. Because specifically through both of them, knowing and not knowing, this is how one completes to know and to reach a perception, to have a hasaga, to have a contemplation and a awareness of a concept in life. This itself already explains why life is so unpredictable, why life is so crazy, and doesn't make sense. We have times in life where things are boom, 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 and then all of a sudden things are flipped out. You have no idea what's flying, and you're holding by maximum, by a modicum of emunah to get through these crazy challenges you're going through, and you're just upside down. Hashem, what did you do to me? I thought I'm doing A, B, C, D, I'm doing good, and then this happens, this flips me out. And that's the thing, is that the knowing and not knowing are anyways in life. So what's the goal? Attaining the level of these outstanding tzaddikim, where I can see everything together. There's no separation. There's no the good days and the bad days. There's knowing and not knowing always. Whether it's the good days, the tzaddikim hold of knowing and not knowing there, and when it's the quote-unquote bad days, they also have a knowing and not knowing there also. It doesn't like us where we have black and white and they're separate units. By the tzaddikim, it's knowing and not knowing always together that makes them perceive what they perceive. Unbelievable what he's saying, Reb Noson. But you see it in life, and why this is a goal and why this is needed. And he says in this lesson 24, that every Jew at their level can come to this, number one, based on how much, commensurate to how much they do mitzvot with simcha, and like Reb Noson added recently, emunah. And number two, a point Reb Noson mentions in this discourse, and also in another discourse, Hoda Avav, that since you alone can't make it that much. You see your setbacks are crazy. You see you're so frail and human. You have no choice but to connect to the tzaddikim who did reach these levels, and from them can brush off to you a perception like this, even though you're not holding there. Your simple emuna and connection to tzaddikim who are holding there, it's enough that it brushes off on you, even though you're not holding there. That explains how Reb Noson in himself knows these things, because there's a connection to Rabbi Nachman. The idea of a Talmid and a Rebbe. Just bringing that down on the side. Okay? אז הידיעה והדר הידיעה הכל אחד. כי על ידי שניהם, I'm just reviewing, כי על ידי שניהם דייקה נגמר הידיעה והשגה. כי שניהם אחד. Because both knowing and the lack of knowing are really one. How do you figure that out? Doesn't work out. בבחינת, in line with the statement from the book בחינת עולם, תכלית הידיעה, אשר לא נדע. The goal of knowing is to not know. In other words, the tachlit of yediah, that the yediah, the knowing, is asher lo neda. It is together with not knowing. Reb Noson explains. He re-elaborates. Ki shehalo neda be'atzmo shehu he'ader ha'yediah, that the not knowing itself, which means the lack of knowledge, hu be'atzmo yediah. This in itself is how you know. Okay? On a practical level, the secret for you to get clarity in life is you have to pass through those tests where you don't know, when the world is flying. You have no idea what Hashem wants of you. You have no idea what's happening. You have no idea what to do. Total frustration, total confusion, total mixed up. But specifically, that's how you come to know. Okay, that's what it means for us. That's how you're going to come to know. You have to go through these not knowing situations in life. It's not just knowing, that's how we advance. This is not university Judaism. It's a challenge. It's a struggle. It's a way of life. That there's yediah, heder yediah. You have both. The goal is that they're together, like by the tzaddikim. But in the meantime, realizing I need both. To come to know, I'm going to have to go through a lack of knowing. That's very simple. Okay? That's how life works. Hu ba'atzmo yediah. But in truth, again, a reminder, don't think you're holding there if you get this. אין מי שיבין עניין זה בשלמות, כי אם הזוכין לזה, אשרי להם. Again, but in truth, there's no one who can really understand this concept completely. Only those people are actually holding that at that level. Those tzaddikim that he mentioned earlier, at that high caliber, due to their good deeds, that they killed themselves in doing good deeds. They worked, they kept on going and investing until they reach that level. Fortunate are they. And again, recording of Noson coming up. So too, every Jew, commensurate to how much they connect to these tzaddikim, they can get a foretaste of this experience in their little lifetime, in their little low-level experience of life. They can have this big experience just due to a simple connection to these tzaddikim. But also in that, it's commensurate to how much you yourself work on being happy and doing mitzvot with joy. Thank you for joining.